Most people think ADHD is only about distraction or losing focus. That's the version everyone sees from the outside. What rarely gets talked about is how deeply ADHD affects emotions. The frustration that builds before you even start a task. The shame that appears after small mistakes. The emotional exhaustion that follows things others seem to handle easily. For many people with ADHD, attention isn't the hardest part. The hardest part is living with emotions that feel louder, faster, and harder to regulate than the world expects. With ADHD, emotions don't fade in slowly. They hit all at once. Excitement can turn into overwhelm. Anger can spike before you understand why. Sadness can feel heavy and endless, even when nothing obvious is wrong. This isn't immaturity or lack of self-control. It's how the ADHD brain processes emotional signals. Feelings arrive stronger and stay longer. Without an internal pause button, emotions can take over your body before logic has time to catch up. One of the most painful emotional effects of ADHD is sensitivity to rejection. A short reply, a delayed message, a neutral tone. Your brain treats these moments like danger signals. You replay conversations. You assume you did something wrong. You imagine outcomes that were never said out loud. This isn't insecurity. It's your nervous system reacting as if social disconnection is a real threat. Over time, relationships start to feel emotionally risky instead of safe. After years of being misunderstood, corrected, or labeled as too emotional, many people with ADHD turn frustration inward. You start blaming yourself for reactions you don't fully control. You tell yourself you're dramatic, weak, or broken. This shame doesn't help you improve. It makes you hide. You suppress emotions. You avoid situations. That might trigger another emotional response. Slowly, you stop trusting your own feelings even when they're completely valid. ADHD often creates cycles of emotional burnout. During periods of hyperfocus, you give everything you have. You push hard, emotionally and mentally. Then suddenly, your energy collapses. You feel empty, irritable, or numb. This isn't laziness or lack of motivation. It's nervous system overload. When emotions stay intense for too long without recovery, burnout happens faster. Eventually, even small emotional demands start to feel overwhelming. Being emotionally sensitive doesn't mean you're fragile. It means your brain detects emotional changes faster and more intensely. ADHD doesn't make emotions wrong, it makes them louder. The real problem is living in a world that expects emotional consistency from a nervous system built for intensity. Once you understand this, self-blame starts to loosen. You realize your reactions aren't character flaws. They're signals asking for regulation, not punishment. Living well with ADHD isn't about suppressing emotions or forcing calm. It's about learning regulation, noticing feelings early, creating emotional safety, giving yourself space before reacting. When emotions feel acknowledged instead of fought, they settle faster. ADHD doesn't disappear, but the emotional chaos becomes manageable. Over time, you rebuild trust with your own mind. And emotions stop feeling like enemies and start feeling like information. Another hidden emotional cost of ADHD is constant comparison. You notice how easily others seem to cope, respond, and move on. You measure yourself against people who appear more stable or consistent. Over time, this comparison creates quiet grief. Not because you want to be someone else, but because you feel like you're always falling short of an invisible standard. This emotional pressure slowly drains confidence and makes everyday interactions feel heavier. Because emotions feel intense, many people with ADHD learn to mask them. You hold it together in public. You appear calm and capable, but inside, you're exhausted from constant self-monitoring. Masking keeps you safe socially, but it disconnects you from your real emotional needs. When feelings are always hidden, they don't disappear. They build up quietly, often releasing later as burnout, shutdown, or emotional collapse. Understanding the emotional side of ADHD changes everything. You stop asking why you're so reactive and start asking what your emotions need. Regulation replaces suppression. Compassion replaces shame. ADHD is still there, but it no longer defines you as broken. Instead, You learn to work with a nervous system that feels deeply, and with that understanding, emotional life becomes clearer, softer, and far more manageable.